Thank you so much, Baba Mali. And thank you, Nelly, and the RHNK team. You continue to always make us look good and organized as co-conveners. And yet, you know, your team holds a lot of the work, and we come in to enjoy and look good. Thank you very much to you and the team. And for me, just to share that this conference really inspires me a lot. I think regardless of the background that one has, there is something for you to learn. And you know, this afternoon, as I was listening to the speakers, being a lawyer, when Lady Justice Njoki was speaking, I started thinking about changing my speech and talking about perhaps judiciaries in Africa. And then later, Evelyn speaks civil society, and I'm like, wow, this is what I need to focus on. And I was drifting. And then Honorable Mohotu spoke, and I'm like, I need to speak to the legislatures in this continent. So I quickly called myself to a meeting and said, Salima, you need to focus on what you agreed to speak about in the beginning, and that is what I'm going to do. But for me, this is a very inspirational conference. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, youth advocates, partners, friends, good afternoon. It's a privilege to join you once again for the RHNK conference, and this time the 8th Pan-African, and I'm underlining Pan-African because it was intentional that this one is a Pan-African conference on reproductive, on adolescent and youth reproductive health rights. We gather once more as advocates, practitioners, policymakers, students, researchers, and rights holders, united by a shared commitment to advancing the dignity, autonomy, health of all people across Africa, especially adolescents and young people. The Center for Reproductive Rights is proud to once again co-convene this important conference in partnership with RHNK, the Ministry of Health, and other partner institutions, as you've had them severally mentioned, and as you've seen them on the various posters. As the Center for Reproductive Rights, we continue to utilize the power of the law to promote reproductive rights as fundamental human rights across the globe. Our commitment to advancing reproductive health rights is unwavering, and it is encouraging to see that there are so many like-minded and dedicated stakeholders gathered here today. So really glad to see all of you. While we've made significant progress in SRHR, challenges remain. For instance, while many countries have policies that allow girls to return to school after pregnancy, implementation remains weak. In 2024, for example, the UNICEF estimated that 6 million pregnant and parenting girls aged 10 to 19 years were out of school, and less than 5% of the girls who get pregnant return to school after pregnancy. And 1 in every 5 girls in Africa falls pregnant before they turn 19, and in some regions, the rates are as high as 28%, which is really a big challenge. This points to deep underlying inequalities, weak health systems, and the lost potential tied to poverty, gender inequality, and limited access to education. Adolescents and youth lack access to accurate information, quality services, and safe spaces to engage in matters related to sexual and reproductive health rights. Access to safe and legal abortion is a fundamental aspect of bodily autonomy, yet it remains out of reach for many, including victims of sexual violence and incest, due to restrictive laws, stigma, and the lack of youth-friendly services. At the same time, regressive laws that criminalize consensual adolescent sex activity among adolescents, that is non-exploitative, disregard their evolving capacities and deepen stigma, risk, and barriers to care, continuing to reflect a broader gap between treaty commitments and national implementation. But even as we enumerate the challenges, we must recognize and acknowledge our shared milestones. At the Center for Reproductive Rights, we take pride in the impact that together with the partners we've had on governments, youth leaders, the partners to improve the lives of young people. One highlight that we can talk about that is relevant to this conference is a decision that came from the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, where the case was against Tanzania. The committee affirmed that access to sexual and reproductive health rights and information is central to adolescents' broader rights, especially their right to education. This landmark ruling underscored the urgent need to dismantle the legal and policy barriers that prevent adolescents from accessing essential services, and we must continue to work together to leverage such decisions as this one that are continental and can be applied to any of the countries that is a party to the Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child in Africa. As we engage in these discussions, let us remain alert to the rising threats to SRHR norms and standards. Anti-rights movements, as you've heard from the various speakers, are seeking to erode the hard-won gains in adolescent and youth SRHR using the guise of African values. Again, that was mentioned earlier. These movements threaten not just reproductive rights, but gender equality, democracy, and fundamental rights such as bodily autonomy, and this is something that we must all care about. SRHR legal frameworks are increasingly targeted through the attempt to water down existing progressive laws, restricting amendments that are being introduced, and the outright push to repeal progressive laws that is being done by the opposition. We must work together to resist this erosion and mount a strong collective response to protect the autonomy of African women and girls. To move forward, we must scale what works. We must deepen the research that we are doing to inform our advocacy efforts, broaden the reach of successful programs, forge stronger partnerships, and pursue youth-centered policymaking. Policymakers must prioritize and fund adolescent and youth SRHR, and researchers must continue to expose gaps that generate data that informs change and our joint advocacy efforts. To the young people here, and I hope people in the Youth Cafe can hear me, you are not just beneficiaries. You are rights holders. You are the movement. You have your courage, and that courage is what is inspiring many of us. Your courage, your leadership, and vision is what is going to drive us forward, because you are the current, as everybody has spoken about. Reproductive health is a right, not a privilege. Rights must be claimed, protected, and defended. I look forward to engaging more in conversations, sharing ideas, and collaborating on discourses that will emerge from this conference. Together, we are shaping a future where reproductive rights are a lived reality for all, and as always, the Center for Reproductive Rights is available for partnership and collaboration. Amidst the chaos and the opposition that everybody is talking about, we must focus on the forward fight. We must focus on the gains that we've made. We must focus on making sure that we are building more progress and not paying attention to the noise that is happening all around us. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone a fruitful and enjoyable conference. Thank you.